Devaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Putri Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachadani Vishesha Shanaya. Paschatya Desatarini Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur Bhaktaranda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langete Girim Yatkapata Mante Shri Guru Tena Tarine. Hare Krishna. So, continue Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2. Today's verse is verse number 59. So let us chant the shloka. Vishaya vinivartante
विषया विनिवर्तन्ते
niraharasya dehinaha
निराहारस्य देहिनः
rasavarjam raso apyasya
रसवर्जं रसोऽप्यस्य
param društva nivartate.
परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते
Vishaya vinivartante
विषया विनिवर्तन्ते
niraharasya dehinaha
निराहारस्य देहिनः
rasavarjam rasopyasya
रसवर्जं रसोऽप्यस्य
param društva nivartate.
परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते
Please chant.
विषया विनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः रसवर्जं रसोऽप्यस्य परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते
विषया विनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः रसवर्जं रसोऽप्यश्च परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते
विषया विनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः रसवर्जं रसोऽप्यस्य परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते
Rasopyasya param društva nivartate. Translation and purport. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the test for sense object remains. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. Purport. Unless one is transcendently situated, it is not possible to cease from sense enjoyment. The process of restriction from sense enjoyment by rules and regulation is something like restricting a deceased person from certain types of eatables. The patient, however, neither likes such restrictions or nor loses his taste for eatables. Similarly, the sense restriction by some spiritual process like Ashtanga Yoga in the matter of Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, etc. is recommended for less intelligent persons who have no better knowledge. But one who has tasted beauty of the Supreme Lord in course of his advancement in Krishna consciousness no longer has taste for dead material things. Therefore, restrictions are there for less intelligent neophytes in the spiritual advancement of life. But such restrictions are only good until one actually has a taste for Krishna consciousness. When one is actually Krishna conscious, he automatically loses his taste for pale things. So, Krishna is explaining to or answering Arjuna's question about Sthita Pragya. So yesterday's verse we saw Krishna gave example of tortoise, right? He can be like tortoise. If we can restrict our senses from the sense object, then we can steady the mind, and such person is called is dhira, or But here Krishna is going more deeper. uh, he's telling that okay, the restrictions like is okay, but even if you restrict, the real test or the real attraction or attachment to the object does not go. So here Srila Prabhupada gives example of deceased person. If he has some restrictions, they will be followed, but the test remains. So similarly, like when we fast for Ekadashi or any day where we are advised to fast, then for that particular day we avoid eating anything or we fast. We would eat only fruits, but that does not mean that our taste for the our likable dishes, like maybe some curry or some rice or some sweet dish, that taste is not gone. For that particular one day we restrict, but the next day it may happen that we eat more because we controlled on one day, the next day we eat more. That is quite possible, that may happen. So the taste remains, we can restrict. So anybody one can say, so then if we can, if like tortoise, if we can restrict, then what's the purpose of having this higher consciousness? So the help of higher consciousness is it does not only restrict the senses, but it also removes the test for the lower conscious things. Or we can say like for the higher purpose, when we have some higher purpose, then we can ignore very easily the lower things that does not affect us. So for example, everybody has kids, right? So when the kids grow up, nowadays for studies, the kids go outside, away from the parents. Most of the kids have to go away from the parents. Nobody likes that their kids go away from them, right, for studies or for job. But if the kids are going for studies, we know the higher purpose of them going away from us. Right? We know if they go away, they will be studying a better college and they will have a better future. So this there we have higher purpose when we send the kids. So because of that higher purpose, and we can take the pain of our kids going away from us, because there is higher consciousness that if they study now, their future is bright. So then we can tolerate the temporary pain of kids not being us with us. So similarly, this is very a gross example in our day-to-day life, that we bear the pain or we restrict our emotions for the higher purpose, right? For the future of our son, kids, we bear the temporary misery, of separation. So similarly, to control the senses, if we try to control each and every senses, like if we say some object, we close the eyes. If we see some dish that we like, we control. So if we one by one keep doing this thing, it is very difficult, because the restriction is not always enjoyable. So niraharasya. So niraharasya is called a negative. Srila Prabhupada transfer negative restriction. Ahar means eating. Nirahar means not eating. For example, right? The literally meaning. So by starving, you cannot reach some goals. So for uh, if you have to eat, you have to eat. You cannot survive without eating. So these negative restrictions cannot stand for long. But if we have to continuously stand these uh, allurements, or control the senses, then we need something higher on which the senses should um, focus on. And then because of the focus on the higher things, the lower interest can be easily eliminated. And on not only the temporary control is there, but the complete test or the complete desire to enjoy that itself goes. And when the desire is gone, then the sense control becomes very natural. So rasa varjam rasopyasya. So even if we control the rasa or the sense of enjoyment, because those impressions are there, and we think that is the best enjoyment, then we cannot give up those things. That will keep, the desires will keep coming, and we will succumb to those desires. So negative restrictions does not always work. So just like in our kids, if we say don't use the phone, you cannot restrict the kids by forcing them not use to phone. We have to somehow convince them that this phone is a problem if you just give so much time to that phone. So negative restriction for that phone does not work. We have to give some higher purpose, why you should not use phone, why it is bad. So and if they agree or they understood the real purpose of our restricting them, then they themselves will automatically reduce the use, right? So there should be some higher purpose. So here, um, so when we work for so restrictions does not long does negative restrictions does not help us in long term. So we need some higher purpose, and that higher purpose is self realization, understanding who are we, what is our relationship with God, why I am here, why I have this body, what I am supposed to do this body. So all these are higher consciousness. So when our mind focuses on the higher things, then it becomes focused inside, and then this outside sense objects, they does not bother you. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, the Sthita Pragya is such that he has higher test, because he is fixed in his higher consciousness. The lower things cannot allure him, and that way he can easily control his senses naturally without much efforts. So a person, so this is Sthita Pragya, because he has higher test of serving the God. But if one does not have that taste, and if he tries to negatively restrict the senses, then what happens? If that is not suitable, then what happens? That Krishna will tell in the next few shlokas, and that we will see from tomorrow. Hare Krishna. So,
Hare Krishna.
any other examples or realizations that anyone has, please share.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I want to share something. Actually, you gave an example about we cannot restrict from children. So that is true. We can change their focus in different way. Like a lot of games also is there study purpose games, like word games, spelling. They can improve small children, or if they are, as we are in this country, they can learn kanji games. Like a lot of things are there. Um, yeah. Because why we are parents are insisting them, they are wasting time. They are not focusing in studies. So just we are pushing the children only. We never think about ourselves. If we think ourselves, we are also wasting the time. In the past, we studied some chapter. I mean, some verses. That is, there are two types of things: Swadharma and Varnashram Dharma. I mean, we are doing only prescribed duties, like material things. If a housewife means looking after the family, rest of the time we are enjoying. enjoying the sense the TV, everything. Now fully digital world, anything, phone or TV, computer, everything is. So in that we are wasting the time. We never realized that.
Yeah.
So instead of spending time in that, like we can listen Krishna Katha lecture or read something,
Mm,
Kirtan, songs we can learn,
mm,
Krishna's songs. In that way only we are doing the real Swadharma. That's we are supposed to do. You told we have to do both. Varnasara Dharma plus Swadharma. We are not at all doing the Swadharma. So parents also not correct. I feel we are not leading right life. We are thinking this is enough like ways. Doing only Varnasana Dharma. I mean, currently it is just
mm,
what we have to do our duty we are doing.
mm.
So it's not only giving advice to kids. Parents also should think that higher purpose is there in the life, like focusing in Krishna consciousness is important. That
Yeah.
I realized. We can also change our um, interest in higher
Mm,
purpose or higher cause. Spend the time little
right.
little. That I realized. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, so it applies to all, not only kids.
Yes, yes. That's what my point.
Yeah, yeah. So it applies to us also, how much time we waste. So we focus on higher things, then our kids may automatically take that example. That is also one thing, very important.
Yeah, for example, past 10 years, we may think what I'm not wasting, like we may think,
Mm,
like relax we are doing. But 10 years before, about 10 years life, if we think, we did nothing we feel about Krishna consciousness.
mm,
Fully we used for our sense enjoyment, sense gratification.
possible.
Uh, so we can change higher focus in higher purpose. That I realized.
Yeah, so other way to look at it is, okay, at least we understood now that we are not utilizing properly, so we can utilize more now. And how much we utilize is there is unlimited. You can use the time in one day. Yeah, so it's always focusing on higher things, and then it helps us also. That's the trick to progress actually. So one example is focusing more on don'ts does not help, but focusing more on do's, what we can do, that helps. So that is also one point. What we can do, we can focus on that more. Okay, so what happens when the senses cannot be controlled? That we will see in next couple of verses. So this is answer to Arjuna's question: how does Sthitapragya acts? How does he sit? So the answer is these 3 to 4 verses. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.